What's good, Ravens fans? It's your boy JG from the Ravens Space, back at it with another video. And today we are going to talk about the lessons Ravens can learn from the Philadelphia Eagles making it to the Super Bowl. And I have 3 lessons that I think is important, super important for the Ravens to truly learn if they want to be a Super Bowl team in the near future. The first lesson is that running quarterbacks can get the job done. And this isn't really so much for the Ravens per se, but more for Ravens fans and the society of football who just really doubt running quarterbacks. The fact that Jalen Hurts led this team to the best record in the NFC and then to a Super Bowl tells you all you need to know about Lamar Jackson's ability to do that as well. Lamar Jackson's better than Jalen Hurts. We know he's a better runner. We see he's a better passer in many situations. Again, when it comes to those short intermediate routes, the system that the Eagles have really does help Jalen out, but I'll give him that. But those deep ball throws, those longer throws, Lamar Jackson has a beautiful deep ball and was connecting on a lot of deep balls when he had a receiver that could really hit those deep balls, right? So that's the first lesson I think is important to take away. Jalen Hurts is great because he's a leader. We know Lamar Jackson's a leader. We know the people in Baltimore love Lamar Jackson on the team and the front office and the coaching staff. Now, again, does the owner love him? Who knows, right? Because they're not paying him. But we do know that he has the intangibles to lead them. He has the skill level to lead them. And now he just needs the offense to go and lead them. So, again, that's the first lesson. You can you can make it to the Super Bowl with a running quarterback. You can make it to the Super Bowl with a quarterback that's not a conventional quarterback. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson that I think the Ravens have to learn, and this one is directly for Eric DeCosta. You gotta help out your key player. Now, a lot of people think that the Ravens are defunct of talent. I'm one of those people on offense. I don't see the talent that we have because if you look around the league about teams who are actually serious about winning Super Bowls, and we're supposed to be one of those teams, there is just, guys, the talent level is just tremendously off, right? Let's, for example, take the Eagles because that's what we're comparing to. The Philadelphia Eagles have 2 1,000-yard receivers. They also have a 1,000-yard running back, right? You can do both. Right? They have Devontae, who, again, they drafted. They were able to develop him. And then, of course, they went and got A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's a monster. He was available for, I believe, a first and a second, and we didn't go get him. Instead, we let the Eagles go get him, right? They took the 2 receivers and their running quarterback, and they were able to leverage their running back and make him a 1,000-yard receiver. He's not a 1,000-yard receiver in an offense that he has to run the ball 30 times a game. I'm sorry, when I say receiver, I meant rusher. He's a 1,000-yard running back in a system where you have to watch the quarterback from running. You can't load the box up because you have 2 great receivers on the outside. And that is what the Ravens need to do, right? You can do that and have a great defense. Now, will it be a little harder because the Ravens did not give a number 1 receiver to Lamar Jackson in his rookie deal? Yes. And that's an advantage that the Eagles have, the rookie deal. But the Ravens weren't able to surround Lamar Jackson on offense with that kind of talent. So that's the second lesson. Go help out Lamar. If he's the quarterback, if we're going to franchise tag him, that's what the rumors say, that we are going to franchise tag him. Give him some help. He can do it as long as you help him out. Now, the next key, and this is something that I think the Ravens are on the path to do. They're not 100% there just yet, but they are on the path to do, is that you have to have your best part of your team playing well at the end of the season. Now, I don't know how the Ravens are going to adjust this because the main issue that they currently have is injuries preventing this. But we have to find a way to make sure that the offensive line and Lamar Jackson is at 100% at the end of the season. So let's just talk about a couple of things we know about the Ravens the last couple of years. We know that we have studs on the offensive line. It's the strength of our team, in my opinion, outside of the quarterback, right? The quarterback, of course, is on a different level. Again, if you look at Pro Football Focus, if you look at a lot of commentators, they all rank Lamar Jackson as a top 5 quarterback in this league. If you look at the earned yards on average, the wins, all the metrics have Lamar Jackson as a top 5 quarterback. So it's important for the Ravens now to take that and make sure that he's playing his best at the end of the season. Make sure the offensive line is playing their best at the end of the season. We've seen teams, for example, like the 49ers, also lose because their team was not 100% healthy at the end of the season. We've seen the Bengals, whose offensive line was hurt, right? They lost because they couldn't block anyone at the end of the season. The way that you're going to make it to the Super Bowl, as we all know, is hitting your stride at that right time and then exploding all the way through and becoming, the best team on every Sunday. And you don't have to be the best team in the beginning of the season, like the Ravens sometimes are. You have to be the best team at the end of the season, which means you have to figure out the injury answer. And again, we can't just go into every season saying, injuries got us again. Injuries got us again. Oh, last season, injuries got us again. But don't worry. These are fluke injuries. It can't happen again. It's going to keep on happening again if you run an offense where Lamar Jackson has to run the ball 15 times a game. It's going to happen against Lamar, right? It's going to happen when, again, many players, there's a clip of Derek Wolfe saying that he knew the Ravens were going to get hit by injuries because they trained to win the offseason. They train harder than any team he's been on in the offseason. They outwork their players in the offseason. Because of this, the Ravens have to take some accountability in this, right? We know players who are veterans and have, who don't have that crazy work ethic, don't really jive with the Ravens, right? Earl Thomas is an example of this, right? Earl Thomas is great, but he doesn't have that work ethic. And now he's in trouble outside of the field, but still. You have a player like Calais Campbell, it fits perfectly because Calais Campbell loves to work. He has that crazy work ethic. But what happens is people get injured when you work them hard like that throughout the entirety of the season. People do get injured. And the Ravens have had injury bugs, and the Ravens have to take some responsibility for that. So, again, and the way that this compares to the Eagles is because when you look around, the Eagles have a really good chance of winning the Super Bowl because they're the only team who's 100% healthy right now, right? They're the only team whose offensive line, for the most part, is intact. They're the only team with their receivers intact, the only team with their running back intact, the only team with their quarterback now intact. They're the only team with with defensive stars intact. When you looked at the 49ers, right? They lost to the Eagles. Why? Because their quarterback was not there. Simple as that. They didn't have a quarterback that they thought they could win with. When you look at the Bengals, offensive line, not good enough, not intact, right? When you even look at a team like the Chiefs, right? They play well. All the receivers went down. They still found a way to win the game. And the reason they did is because the Bengals' offensive line was hurt. If the Bengals had 2 of their offensive line starters in the game instead of having 3 people who didn't start the season on the offensive line, and remember, on offensive line is only 5 people, ladies and gentlemen. So if you just had 3 of the 5 instead of 2 of the 5, you win that game. Unfortunately, you give up all those sacks, all those pressures, and then you get desperate, and now you're making stupid penalties because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes didn't have any starting receivers to throw to in that game at the end, but he still figured out a way to get it done. So we have to take all that into account. And once you just extrapolate that to the Eagles have a really good chance of winning the Super Bowl because they have most of their players intact. So I want you to know what you guys think about this. Like I said, my 3 takeaways from the Eagles making it to the Super Bowl is 1, a running quarterback can get it done. There should be no more discussion about that as long as the system supports him. 2, you have to have talent around the quarterback, regardless of the team. You have to have talent around the quarterback, right? And then 3, you gotta be there when it's time to be there, right? Injuries are going to hurt you, and they hurt the Ravens this year. They hurt a lot of teams this year, and the Eagles, which is the healthiest team right now, they're going to have a good chance to win because they're healthy. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks, and go Ravens.